Hey witches. So yesterday out at a couple of Beltane celebrations, I was speaking to several people, and a group of us got into a conversation about how we started on this path. And I thought I would share it with you guys because I really never have. I've talked about, things here and there, but I thought I'd talk about it for a few minutes just in case you're curious of who's giving you this advice that I'm always giving. So, when I was around, 7, 8, I started making potions and, just weird shit outside with stuff. And my daughter started doing the same thing at about 4. But, just gathering, we had a big pecan tree in the backyard, or pecan, whatever you want to say. I usually say pecan. I just said pecan for y'all. But anyway. Put those, and then some leaves, and then I would always go in, and I was fascinated with using eggs, some different rocks and some water, and just mixing them up and calling them potions. Some sticks, some berries. We had those little huckleberries, the little purple ones that you can smush. Just whatever I could find, making little potions. And I always wanted to be outside. I never wanted to be indoors. Even if it was raining, I would put up a fight. Why it's just rain, and a lot of times in the summer, if it wasn't too cold and it was drizzling, my mother was probably about 75% full-blood Cherokee Native American, so she got it. She understood, even though she was a Christian woman, she understood that, nature is important and kids need to be outside, adults need to be outside. She was, even up until her death, she would sit on the porch for hours on end with her fiance. But anyway, so I always wanted to be outdoors. I just felt drawn to it. I've always been fascinated with the moon and even the sun. I would look up the sun, and whatever adult around me would, remind me not to do that, but I still do it, and I'm not blind, but I'll look at the sun every now and then. It's just beautiful. But I will usually try to wait till sunrise or sunset to do that, but not all the time. So let's jump ahead a few years. So when I was around 13, I started to realize, because I would go to church with my family, not all the time, but sometimes, and every time I would be in church, I was miserable. I just didn't feel right. I felt out of place. I didn't like to go. I didn't even enjoy, going to eat afterward. I enjoyed spending time with my family, and that was, about the only thing I liked about it. Plus, I hated to have to get up early on my Sunday. But anyway, I started realizing that, and then when I was around 14, maybe close to 15, The Craft came out. And I don't know what it was, the first one, okay? Not the second one. I'm not a teenager. I'm old. I wish I was a teenager. But anyway, when I was a teenager, The Craft came out. And I was enthralled with Fruza Balk. And, there was word of mouth that she was a real witch and all this, which she is. She, during the time of filming, she actually owned an occult bookstore. And then, came out about her path and everything. And I was like, okay, I understand. I also had a fascination with Stevie Nicks, and I didn't know she was a witch until a few years later. So just little weird shit like that. But when I watched The Craft, and just watching the things they were doing, and even though the names that they would pray to were made up names, a lot of fiction in that movie, there's a lot of truth in that movie too. The saying in that movie, imperfect love and perfect trust, is a huge concept in witchcraft. If you don't trust and you don't love, what are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? Like, it's like the foundation for me. You know, you have faith in the universe, in perfect love and perfect trust. So anyway, watched that movie about 1 million times. I still have it on my DVR right now, and I watch it every now and then. I like that movie, and I liked all the characters. I just really had this magnetic pull toward Fruza Balk, and I still do. She's one of my favorite actresses. I just think she's precious. Some people think she's ugly. I think she's gorgeous. But anyway, so after that, I began, let's just say, dabbling. Now, I didn't buy my first spell book until I was probably in college, because I didn't need spell books back then. I had which now, as a seasoned witch, knowing what's called what, I would call it a dream box or a manifestation box. And I will show you guys how to make one of these in a video probably tomorrow. But whatever I would put in this box would come true. So I just called it my wish box. I think that's what I called it. But anyway, I had in this box nothing. And it was covered in sunflowers, and it was red, and it was like a cloth, you know, outlined wooden box. And I had inside some of the fur from my, at the time, familiar. And I'd snip a little bit of her fur. It was in there, and that was it. That was all. And I would focus on whatever it was, and usually 1 or 2 words, and I would write it down, put it in that box, and it would happen. And you've heard me mention this box in my video about love spells, because that was one thing I wish I'd never put in that box. But once you release it, you can't bring it back. So anyway, I continued on that path for all these years, and I've just kept collecting and growing. But one thing that I've noticed is with age and with all the other stuff that comes with adulthood, that your mind can't be as focused as easily, which is why I love meditation so much, because it helps me to focus on one thing instead of my daughter popping into my head, or work stuff popping into my head, or marital stuff popping into my head, or what are we going to eat for dinner, or whatever. Helps me focus on whatever I'm wanting to achieve. So that's one thing I have noticed. But it doesn't mean I can't. It just means I have to work harder. And that's one reason I love fire so much. That's why I did the fire video, because fire really helps me focus. But in a nutshell, that's my path. You know, I mean, I've picked up over the past 28 years, I've picked up the ability to visualize as it's already happened, which is a huge part of this. I've picked up the ability to write spells. I've picked up the knowledge of, you know, how to cast a circle for this or that. But the main thing that I feel that I have achieved, so to speak, is to understand that this path is not for getting stuff. It's not for cursing people. It's not for becoming a millionaire. It's not for, you know, attracting your soulmate by putting a love spell on somebody who doesn't even know you exist. You know, that's not what it's for, which I never thought that. But a lot of people do. And if that's why you're thinking about coming on this path, and that's why you're watching this video, don't. You're wasting your time, and you're going to end up wasting money. It's not for you. But another thing that I have picked up, so to speak, is working with deities. Through my relationship with certain deities, I have been able to become a better mother, become more nurturing, become a better wife. But the main thing that I've picked up is the ability to overcome grief. Because when you lose a parent, because I've lost a couple of friends, growing up in my teenage years, because I ran with a rough crowd. I've lost a couple of friends, along the way, but nothing like my parents. And now at 40, be 41 in 30 days, but at 40, having had to suffer the loss of both parents has been very devastating. But through my work with Hecate, I'm able to understand that transition and understand that it is part of the cycle of life. And that's one thing that witchcraft will help you do, is understand that everything is cyclical. Everything is a circle. There's growth. There's birth. There's growth. You have everything else that happens to you along the growth. Then you have where you start to wane, which would be the crone aspect of the triple goddess. And then you have death. But then the thing about witchcraft is most of us believe, not all of us, but most of us believe that you do reincarnate. So, it kind of makes it easier to understand and to deal with. It does not mean it's easy. I'm not saying that. I still cry all the time because I miss my mom. I miss my mommy. I miss my daddy. But it helps. And one thing that I will do with Hecate, which really is off topic, but I'll write her thank you letters. I'll write her little thank you letters. And I'll just put them on her altar under the altar cloth so no one else sees. I'm not going to disclose the entire content of these letters, but they thank her in a way. They thank her for being there, for the transition of my loved ones. And that helps me. Sorry, guys. But it helps me because I know that they weren't alone during that time. And in a way, you almost look forward to death. I haven't had the opportunity yet to see Hecate's face in the astral, but by the time I die, I will. And if I don't, when I do die, I will then. So, it also helps you come to terms with your own mortality. It's just a very helpful path when you're dealing with loss. But when you're dealing with anything, it can help you. But just remember, it's not a path to becoming a millionaire and to making, all your enemies suffer. Somebody just pissed me off highly, and my first thought was, should I curse them? I thought, no, that's terrible. Don't do that, you dumbass. You're not supposed to be doing that. So I didn't, not even sending any negativity their way. I'm going to deal with what they did on the mundane level. And that's something that you'll come to along your path is, revenge, so to speak. Do I do this magically, or do I just handle it in the mundane world? Because whether you're a Wiccan or not, you have to be careful with what you put out there. You do. Because you don't want to fill your energy with a bunch of bad shit. You want good. You want light and love. And for me to curse someone, if I'm going to go upstairs to my baneful altar and curse you, you've got to do something really bad. So I don't feel this was at the level that I should curse. So I'm not gonna. I may do just a citrine body cleanse or a meditation to be less mad. And that's one of the great things about the craft, is that you learn coping mechanisms. You learn that when you're having a panic attack, you can, hold on to a dark crystal. My favorite is black tourmaline or black obsidian. They tie for number one, but holding on to one of those and even just focusing and doing deep breathing. If you don't want to do it, if I don't, have time for a formal meditation, just holding that, calming down, doing my breathing, just relaxing will help. Another thing that you can do to calm down is fire meditation. Light a candle. You want it to be blue. Blue is the color of tranquility and peace. Stare at that candle flame until you're okay, and then snuff it out, and then the next time you need it, it's there. So, just little tricks like that I've picked up along my magical journey. I've picked up how to use crystals, how to use herbs, how to use resins, and, barks and roots and flowers, and this water and this moon phase and that moon phase, and this eclipse, the lunar eclipse, the solar eclipse, and, how to do whatever. But it's not what got me into this path. I feel like I was pulled onto this path naturally, that it was just, there was a fork in the road, and this was my destiny to go this direction. And I've never looked back, and I never will, unless it's to wave goodbye again. But that's how I have witches. Just a real quick, how'd I get here? A couple things that I've picked up, but like I said, make sure you're doing this for the right reasons. And I said that before in my Witchcraft 101 video. If you want to be a millionaire, go to college and, become a CEO one day, or do little manifestation tricks if you want, but don't become a witch just because you think, oh, I'll do a money spell and be a millionaire. No, you won't. No, you won't. And one of the reasons is, I'm not even going to get into it. Watch my Money Magic playlist, and that'll kind of give you an idea. But you cannot just accrue that amount of wealth when you don't have $1 in your bank account. It just doesn't work. Now, maybe you might get a little, but it doesn't work like that. There's a magical money system that you must approach with reverence and utilize if you want to build your financial stability through magic. It's not just one and done. Trust me, it's not. But when you are on this path for the right reasons, you realize that money isn't really that important. We need it for what we need it for. But beyond that, it's just a number in a bank account. And material stuff is great, but it is not necessary to make us happy. True happiness is found within. And witchcraft can help you find that. Can help you find ways, to love yourself truly. And that's where true happiness comes from. Self-love, and the ability to be loved by others, and the ability to love others truly. But that's all I have. Just a real quick, sweet little thing about my little journey. But I have only one regret, and that was writing the word love and putting it in that damn box. And I'll link the video below to tell you why, if you haven't watched it yet. And those closest to me already know what happened, because some of them watch this channel and they're probably thinking about him right now, and they're probably thankful that he's dead. But I had nothing to do with his death. That was way after we were broken up. Anyway, blessed be, guys. Like, subscribe, and share.